Okay, so I hope you all can hear me. Let me make this a little closer. Okay, so I was doing some wondering, and I thought maybe some of you all can give me some insight or help me complete this story. But I was wondering about Moses, okay? And I know that when he was a baby, his Hebrew mother put him in a little basket and sent him along the way so that he wouldn't get killed by Pharaoh. And he was basically raised by the Egyptian princess. So he grew up in the royal house. Okay. Um, my what I'm wondering is how did he actually know about Yahweh before he went on Mount Sinai or Mount Horeb? Because if he was raised in the royal house and he didn't find out that he was Hebrew until he was a grown man, then basically his whole indoctrination was the Egyptian indoctrination. So he was pretty much raised as an Egyptian. And if I'm not mistaken, they believe in like the sun and the underworld and Book of the Dead, things of that sort. I think his name was Amun Ra. I'm not sure. Somebody may have to correct me on that. But so if he was raised by the Egyptians and he was indoctrinated with the Egyptian religion, when he found out that he was Hebrew, did he all of a sudden just say, well, since I'm Hebrew and their God is, at the time, I don't know if it was Yahweh or not, because supposedly he was not given the name Yahweh until after he went on the mountain in Sinai. So, they're monotheistic God. So I was wondering, like, was he thinking like, well, now that I'm Hebrew, I'll just worship their God? Or did it take him a while? Like, well, I've been worshiping this sun god and the Egyptian gods this whole time. I don't know if I'm just quick to believe in their God, or maybe I just have to get used to it, or maybe somebody have to give me a briefing on their ways, because obviously he was not raised with their ways. He knew nothing about how they were before they became to be slaves. I'm quite sure all he knew was the point where they were being mistreated and being slaves by the Egyptians. Because once he found out that he was Hebrew, shortly after that, he he saw a Hebrew slave being whipped, and he killed his fellow Egyptian for whipping this slave. And shortly after that, he had to flee because he was wanted for murder. Okay, so when he fled to Mount Horeb or Mount Sinai, depends on which text you're reading from, or what you believe. But when he arrived at this place, he stayed there for 40 years, and that's where he met his wife, Zipporah. Her dad's name was Jethro, and he was a Median priest. So the area was Media. The mountain was Mount Horeb or either Mount Sinai. Now, a priest, in my point of view, is someone who's set in their ways in the religion that they're in. So what was Jethro's religion if it wasn't the Egyptian religion, and if it wasn't the Hebrew religion? So I did some researching and I looked it up, and it looks like he was a, what do you call it, Druze priest. And I was like, what in the world is Druze? And, well, first of all, did Jethro teach Moses about the Druze ways, or did Jethro, did Jethro teach Moses about the ways, or did Moses teach Jethro about the ways? Because Jethro was the priest and Moses was the murderer. So in my mind, the priest would be, especially for 40 years, the priest would be teaching the murderer how to live and things that's right, things that's wrong. So if he was a priest in Midian, and the mountain that's near Midian is Mount Sinai, then I'm thinking the God of Mount Sinai was the God of the Medians? I don't know. But when I looked up Druze on Wikipedia, so if some of you may believe Wikipedia and that it's all true, and some people may not, but this is just the site that I not necessarily trust, but that was just the first one that came up that I thought was the most credible. But so the Druze were a monotheistic religious community found primarily in Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and Jordan. So if he was a Druze priest, well, first of all, again, Druze, the word Druze was actually pronounced Darazi. Okay, Darazi. And it's supposed to be coming from Ad-Darazi. No, I'm sorry. Ankanash Ad-Darazi, which was a seaman in that area who believed in this religion. But they said he was a heretic, and so they kicked him out, but they still named the religion after him. Okay, but what I'm trying to figure out is if now the guy that they named the religion Druze or Darazi after, that was like way after AD, like 1400 AD, when he was alive. So how did Jethro end up becoming a Darazi or Druze priest when the name wasn't even invented when he was living? So that's kind of going around in a circle, and it confuses me a little bit. Maybe somebody can give me some comments about, what was Jethro's religion, if it wasn't Darazi or Druze. Yeah. So that's kind of, and then okay, so after he went and stayed 40 years in this area, he went and said he was going to go get his people back from Egypt. So when he came and got his people back from Egypt, they were already indoctrinated with the Egyptians' religion, and a lot of them had started disbelieving, but they did have a glimmer of hope that, of their God of the past. So when Moses came back, he had already went on Mount Sinai and talked to the burning bush, which he learned that the name was Yahweh. When he came back to talk to the Pharaoh to let his people go, I'm wondering, was that the same God as the Hebrews' God of the old? The one that was on Mount Sinai, which was in the area of the Druze priest. So it's all it's a little shady, and those are just my wonderings, and again, maybe somebody can help me out and let me know more factual information about those areas. That's all. Bye.